There are 8 verses in the Quran that changed everything scholars thought they knew about you. Not about a prophet, not about an angel, not about a nation that was destroyed. About you, the human being sitting right here, right now, watching this video. Surah At-Tin is one of the shortest chapters in the entire Quran. Most people memorize it as children. Most people recite it in prayer without thinking. But buried inside those 8 verses is a message so powerful, so deeply personal, that when you finally understand what Allah is actually saying, you will never look at yourself the same way again. Because this surah does not just tell you who you are, it tells you what you were designed to be, what you have become, and what is still possible before your time runs out. And to understand why Allah revealed these words in the hills of Mecca over 1400 years ago, we need to start with something most people have never noticed about the very first line. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was on a journey. He was traveling, and in one of his prayers during that journey, he stood and recited Surah At-Tin. Al-Bara ibn Azib, one of the companions who was present, later said something remarkable about that moment. He said he had never in his life heard a voice more beautiful or a recitation more perfect than what he heard from the Prophet that night. This narration is recorded in the collections of Bukhari, Muslim, and others. And there is something worth pausing on here. Of all the surahs in the Quran, of all the long and magnificent chapters the Prophet could have chosen for that prayer, he chose this one. 8 verses. A surah so brief that it can be recited in under a minute. And yet the beauty of his recitation that night left a mark on a companion for the rest of his life. That should tell you something about the weight carried by these words. Surah At-Tin was revealed in Mecca. The majority of scholars agree on this, and not just any period of the Meccan era. It belongs to the earliest phase, before the open conflict between the Muslims and the Quraysh had fully erupted. The evidence for this is in the surah itself. Allah says, "And this city of security," referring to Mecca. The word used is Hadal Balad Ilamin, meaning this city, which tells us the speaker is inside that city at the time of revelation. If it had been revealed in Medina, the word "this" would make no sense. You do not point at something far away and call it "this." But there is something even more important about the timing. During this early Meccan period, the message of Islam was still young. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was calling people to one God, to accountability, to the reality of a day of judgment. And the people around him, the Quraysh, the Arabs, steeped in tribalism and idol worship, they were not just rejecting his message. They were rejecting the very idea that their actions in this world would have consequences in the next. They lived as though this life was all there was. They buried their daughters alive. They exploited the weak. They worshipped stones they had carved with their own hands, and they saw nothing wrong with any of it. This was the world into which Surah Atin descended. And Allah chose to open this surah not with a command, not with a warning, not with a story. He opened it with an oath. Actually, he opened it with 4 oaths, one after another, by the fig, by the olive, by Mount Sinai, and by this city of security. 4 sacred oaths, building toward a single truth that Allah was about to declare about the human being. Now, in the Quran, whenever Allah swears by something, it is never random, it is never decorative. Every oath has a direct connection to the message that follows. And this is where the depth of Surah Atin begins to reveal itself. Because the question that has occupied scholars for centuries is this: why the fig? Why the olive? Why Mount Sinai? And why Mecca? What connects these 4 things to each other? And what do they have to do with the explosive statement that comes next? The answer to that question is the key that unlocks this entire surah. Let us take them one at a time. The fig and the olive. At first glance, they seem like simple fruits, and some of the earliest scholars, including Mujahid and Ikrimah, did interpret them literally. The fig is the fig you eat. The olive is the olive you press for oil. Both are blessed. Both are mentioned with honor in the prophetic traditions. But other scholars, among them Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, and Az-Zamakhshari, pointed to something deeper. They noted that the Arabs of that era had a well-known practice. They would often refer to a land by the fruit it was famous for producing. When someone mentioned the fig and the olive, the immediate association for an Arab of that time was the land of Sham, the region of Syria and Palestine. And that land was not just famous for its fruits, it was famous for its prophets. This is the land where Ibrahim alayhi salam traveled, the land where Yaqub and Yusuf and Dawood and Sulaiman and Zachariah and Yahya lived and walked. And above all, it is the land where Isa ibn Maryam alayhi salam was sent with his message. Some scholars, including Ka'b al-Akhbar and Qatada, specifically said that the olive refers to the Masjid of Jerusalem, Bayt al-Maqdis. Others traced the fig even further back to the land where Nuh alayhi as-salam built his masjid on Mount Judi after the Great Flood. The point is the same. These are not just fruits. They are markers of sacred ground. They are signposts pointing to the places where Allah sent His greatest messengers with His greatest revelations. Then comes the second oath, Mount Sinai, Tur Sinin, and there is no ambiguity here. This is the mountain where one of the most extraordinary events in all of creation took place. This is where Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, spoke directly to Musa ibn Imran alayhi salam. Not through an angel, not through a dream, directly. Imagine the weight of that. A mountain in the middle of a barren peninsula became the site where the Creator of all things addressed a human being with His own speech. The mountain itself trembled. Musa fell unconscious. And from that encounter came the Torah, one of the greatest codes of divine law ever given to mankind. Then comes the final oath. And this city of security, Mecca, the city that Ibrahim alayhi salam built with his own hands alongside his son Ismail, the city he prayed over, saying, "My Lord, make this a city of peace." And Allah answered that prayer for over 2,500 years. In the middle of the chaos of Arabia, where tribes raided and killed and betrayed each other without pause, Mecca remained an island of safety. And it was in this city that the final messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was born. It was here that the Quran first descended. It was from this city that the last and most complete message of Allah went out to all of humanity. Now, step back and look at the pattern. The land of the fig and the olive, connected to Isa, Mount Sinai, connected to Musa, Mecca, connected to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 3 places, 3 of the greatest messengers ever sent. Scholars like Hafiz ibn Kathir noted that this sequence mirrors a passage at the end of the Torah itself, which speaks of divine light coming from Sinai, shining from Seir, and appearing from the mountains of Paran, which is the ancient name for the mountains surrounding Mecca. Allah is laying down a trail, noble place, then nobler place, then the noblest of all. And all of this, all 4 oaths, all 3 sacred geographies, all these towering prophets, they are all building toward one single statement, one sentence. The subject of the oath, the reason Allah swore by all of these blessed things. And when you hear it, you will understand why this surah matters more to your life than almost anything else you have ever been told. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَانِ-i-Taqwim. We have certainly created man in the best of forms. This is the statement. This is the heart of the surah. This is what Allah swore by the lands of His prophets and the mountains of His revelation to declare. And the word that carries the full weight of this declaration is taqwim, because taqwim does not simply mean form or shape. The root of this word comes from qa'ama, which means to stand upright. And qawama means to take something that is bent or broken and straighten it, to align it, to balance it perfectly. Taqwim means to take multiple components and bring them into perfect equilibrium, to design something exactly the way you intended it to be. So when Allah says He created the human being in Ahsan-i-Taqwim, the best Taqwim, He is not merely saying you have a nice body. He is saying that you were designed deliberately and intentionally with a perfect balance of body, mind, intellect, and soul. Your physical form is upright when every other creature walks bent toward the ground. Your mind is capable of reason, language, abstraction, and imagination. Your soul carries within it a fitra, an innate orientation toward truth and goodness, planted there by Allah Himself before you ever took your first breath. You are not an accident. You are not a slightly advanced animal. You are the being for whom the angels were commanded to prostrate. You are the one to whom Allah gave khilafah, stewardship, over the entire earth. You are the creature that was offered the amanah, the divine trust that the heavens and the earth and the mountains could not bear. And then, one verse later, the ground drops out from under you. Thumma radadnahu asfala safilain. Then we returned him to the lowest of the low. Not just low, the lowest of the low, the basement of the basement. The same being that was just described as the crown of all creation, the pinnacle of divine design, is now described as something that has fallen further than anything else in existence. The Arabic word radda does not simply mean to lower or to reduce. It means to reject something because it has become unacceptable. Allah designed you in perfection. And when you choose to abandon that design, when you turn away from the purpose you were created for, He does not simply let you drift. He rejects you downward, and the fall has no floor. Now the scholars differed on what asfala safilin means. Some, like Ibn Abbas in one narration, said it refers to the feebleness of old age, when a person loses their strength and their mind. But Imam Mujahid, Abu al-Aliya, and others said it refers to the hellfire, the lowest depths of punishment. And Imam Maududi, rahimahullah, offered an interpretation that ties directly to the lived reality you can see with your own eyes. He said that asfala safilin is the moral degradation that occurs when a human being uses the very gifts Allah gave him, his intellect, his strength, his creativity, in the service of evil. Think about it. A wild animal kills for food. It does not commit genocide. It does not invent weapons of mass destruction. It does not build systems designed to exploit millions of people. It does not worship stones it carved with its own paws. But the human being, the one created in Ahsan-i-Taqwim, does all of these things and worse. When the human falls, he does not fall to the level of animals. He falls below them. The animal follows its nature. The human betrays his. And that betrayal, that willful descent from the station Allah designed for you, that is what asfala safilin looks like. It is not just a punishment waiting in the afterlife. It is a condition that begins right here, right now, every time a person chooses to live beneath the dignity Allah placed inside them. And then, like a hand reaching down into the darkness, comes the exception. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ. Except those who believed and did righteous deeds, for them is a reward uninterrupted. This exception is everything. It is the lifeline. It is the proof that the fall is not final, that the descent to the lowest of the low is not inevitable for the one who chooses differently. And notice the precision of the language. Allah does not say, except those who believed. Belief alone is not mentioned as the rescue. He says, those who believed and did righteous deeds. Two things, not one. Internal and external, the heart and the hand. Because the balance that Allah designed you with, the taqweem, is a balance of inside and outside. Your soul needs to believe. Your body needs to act on that belief. A person who believes in Allah but never prays, never gives, never strives, never stands for justice has an imbalance. And a person who performs every outward ritual but carries corruption, arrogance, and cruelty in their heart also has an imbalance. The Taqwim is lost when either side collapses. And the Taqwim is restored when both sides are brought back into alignment, faith and action, conviction and conduct, Iman and Amal Salih. And what is the reward for those who maintain this balance? Ajrun Gairu Mamnun, a reward that is never cut off, never diminished, never interrupted. The word Mamnun comes from the root mana, which means to cut or to sever. So, Gairu Mamnun means a reward that will never be severed from you. In this world, every reward has an end. Every paycheck runs out. Every pleasure fades. Every achievement is eventually forgotten. But the reward Allah promises for those who hold on to their faith and their righteous deeds is one that has no expiration. It flows forever. It does not diminish with time. It does not depend on anyone's approval or remembrance. It is guaranteed by the one who created you in the first place. Then Allah asks a question, and it is not a gentle question. It is a question that is meant to shake you. Fama yukaddibuka badu biddin. Then what, after this, makes you deny the recompense? The word yukaddibu does not mean simple denial. It comes from kaddaba, which means to call something a lie, even though you know it is true. This is not about someone who has never heard the message. This is about the person who has seen the evidence, who has recognized that human beings are clearly created with a higher purpose, who can look around and see that the morally corrupt live differently from the morally upright, and yet still chooses to deny that there will be a day when all of this is accounted for. Allah is asking, after everything you have just been shown, after seeing that you were created in the best of forms, after seeing that those who abandon their design fall to the lowest of the low, after seeing that those who believe and do good are promised an unending reward, what could possibly still make you lie to yourself about the reality of judgment? The question is almost rhetorical, because there is no good answer. There is no rational response a person can give for looking at the obvious difference between the righteous and the corrupt, and then concluding that both will end the same way, that neither will be held to account, that there is no justice awaiting them. And that is why the surah ends with the most powerful closing line imaginable. Alaysa Allahu bi ahkamil hakimin. Is not Allah the most just of all judges? Read that again. Let it land. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to respond to this verse. When he recited it, whether in prayer or outside of it, he would say, Subhanaka fa bala, meaning, glory be to you, O Allah, and yes indeed. And Abu Huraira, radiallahu anhu, reported that the Prophet instructed that when a person recites this final verse, they should respond by saying, Bala wa ana ala dalika minash shahidin, meaning, yes, and I am among those who bear witness to that. You were not meant to simply hear this verse. You were meant to respond to it, to testify. Because this is the conclusion of everything. If Allah is the most just of all judges, and He is, then it is impossible, absolutely impossible, that the person who lives their life in obedience and goodness and the person who lives their life in corruption and cruelty will receive the same ending. Justice demands distinction. Justice demands accountability. Justice demands a day when every soul is shown what it sent forward and what it left behind. And the one who created you in Ahsan-i-Taqwim, who gave you every faculty and every blessing you needed to live a life worthy of your design, that same one will be the one standing in judgment on that day. And He does not make mistakes. He does not overlook. He does not forget. And this is the message of Surah At-Tin, not a lecture, not a list of rules, a mirror. Allah is holding up a mirror to every single human being and saying, look at what I made you. Look at the masterpiece I designed you to be. Look at the potential I placed inside you. And then look at what you have done with it. Have you lived up to your taqweem? Have you honored the design? Have you kept the balance between your soul and your actions, between your faith and your deeds? Or have you allowed yourself to descend slowly, quietly, day by day, into Asfala Safilain, into a version of yourself that is so far beneath what you were meant to be that even the creation beneath you would not recognize you. This is why Surah Atin is not a children's surah. It is not a surah you rush through to finish your prayer faster. It is a surah that asks you the most important question you will ever face. What have you done with what Allah gave you? The fig and the olive remind you that prophets walked this earth and showed you the way. Mount Sinai reminds you that Allah Himself spoke to guide humanity. Mecca reminds you that a final messenger was sent with a final message, and that message reached you. You are not without guidance. You are not without example. You are not without warning. Everything has been given to you. The map is in your hands. The path is beneath your feet. The question is whether you will walk it. And when you stand in prayer tonight and you recite Wat-Tini wa-Zaytun, remember what you are actually saying. You are invoking the sacred lands of prophets. You are acknowledging the mountain where Allah spoke. You are standing in the spiritual lineage of every messenger who ever lived. And you are reciting the words of the one who created you, who designed you, who honored you above all other creation, and who is now asking you directly, personally, with no intermediary, whether you will live like the masterpiece He made you to be, or whether you will let yourself fall. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. But remember, the one asking is also the one judging, and He is the most just of all judges.